Good evening, everyone. This is Ron. Monday evening, a little after 6, so we'll go ahead and get started. Of course, I missed the weekend. I didn't get a chance to hear yesterday's message, but I did hear part of Saturday's. So, but first, let's see if we have any questions or anything you may have observed that you'd like to talk about. Okay, nothing. Um, well, Pastor may or may not join us this evening. He had a previous engagement, and he may be late if he gets on at all. But something was said Saturday when you guys were discussing the numbers that I wanted to follow up on, and so it depends on whether or not we get a conversation out of this or not. I don't know, but I know I mentioned it to him uh, when he was talking about the numbers 7 and 8, and that got my attention. I saw something in that. Uh, when he was talking, he mentioned harmony. We don't yet know what that looks like, and that's the part that got my attention. And I wanted to talk about it just a bit. Okay. Um, 7, we know, has everything to do with creation. 7 has talks about not only creation, but it talks about to see something, to stop creation, stop moving, stop working. Uh, it also talks about a continuous flow. It talks about a movement. And Pastor mentioned in the video, 6 is the number of man, and plus one being Elohim, because Elohim is number one and it cannot be divided. So that being said, we look at that and talk about uh, what that 7 means in relation to 8. So 7 talks about being full as well, being something that is complete, and not only complete, but it talks about wholeness. So when we've talked about these things in the past, what we've looked at is that completion, along with 7, talks about being able to bear fruit. It talks about perfection, being perfect. It talks about being in rhythm with the universe. Uh, it talks about something consuming you, being consumed by something, and it becoming you and you becoming it, and not even recognizing that it's happening, that you are this transition is taking place within you, uh, and always being in the present, right, like right now. So when you look at this, and the other part of that being wholeness, wholeness talks about the holiness of it, meaning you are constantly creating space, creating space. And how do you do that? The creating space is moving stuff out of the way. What do I move out of the way? I move my ego. I move my anger. I move my religious thoughts. I move all the principles and things that have defined me as who I am. So I start challenging myself and uprooting all these things within me. So as I do that, then you are creating space for to be impregnated with truth and with life, and so all of that is a part of 7. So when you look at 8, 8 talks about a new beginning. Uh, 8 also talks about being fat. It talks about being saturated, being overflowing. In other words, you don't get to 8 unless you recognize 7. It's not just a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, these types of steps. It is a flowing or transitioning of who you are. You do not get to 8 either without a dying. Because there cannot be a new beginning unless there is a death. So when you look at this and put these two things together, 7 and 8 work together and they balance each other out. And this new beginning, this new doorway, this new thing that you are becoming, that we are walking through, it points out to where we are now. And so, but hold on, I'll just stop right there and see if we have any questions. Does this make sense at all?
Ron, this is Vermel. My
Hey,
question from Hi. My question from what I'm understanding, we talked about just now about 7 and 8. So are we always in a state of dying to self to make room for more awareness?
It is an individual choice. Each and every one of us has to make that choice.
Okay. And we make that choice daily, right? We make that choice daily?
Daily. With every breath.
Okay. With
every thought.
Okay.
Yes. With every thought. Every part of your being, you're constantly making that thought. You are becoming something.
Okay. So
as we have these sessions, as we talk about these things 3 times a week or even more, if you have, if we happen to call somebody and talk, these things stay with us. They come back to you when you are in a situation, or so you decide, like a raft flowing down a river. You decide whether or not I want to get off and camp here and remain here or not. That's what we were talking about with Abraham, when he came to the crossroads. He could have stayed with his father. He could have stayed and worshiped his father's God, but he took his own journey. And as did Lot. Lot decided that he wanted to take a different path. So we all make those decisions individually. And collectively, once we decide which direction we are going in, we become a nation. That's the becoming a nation. But it is an individual choice that we all make.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yes, it does.
Anyone else? Anyone else can answer that or see something else there? Okay. So, any other questions? So when I looked at this, and I know most of you, I don't know if any of the teachers are on right now. One of the things we studied some years ago was called the Tree of Life. And there was something on there, the Hebrew word for knowledge is Daath, Daath. And what it means to know. I know something. And that's what you can almost lay 7 and 8 on top of this, because Daath is fed from wisdom and understanding. So God gives you wisdom to make a choice, and the Daath is, I see what choice I have to make, or I learn something from this and it stays with me. I cherish this. It becomes something valuable to me. So when I'm in a pinch or when I'm in a situation, my mind goes back to it. I remember when God did this for me. So I know who I am. I know who the living God is because I have a relationship with him. That's what that describes. So when you look at the 8 is empowered by what you did in 7. 7 speaks of us understanding creation. Creation is not about the worlds coming into existence. Creation is about man understanding his spiritual self. When we looked at the darkness and the light, when we looked at the heaven and the earth, when we looked at the naming of the animals, all of these are characteristics within us. We weren't just studying this or to look at history. So when we get to a point where we're gaining some understanding of this and recognizing who we are, and some of the biggest things I remember that came out of this is us talking about there is no such thing as duality. Although we see that there is light and darkness, there is heaven and earth, all of these are on the same plane. There is good and evil. All of these are on the same plane. There's male and female. All of these are on the same plane. So when we look at when we talk about masculine and feminine energy and how what balance that brings to us, in gaining that understanding, what makes us a 7. That's what makes us complete. That's what makes us balanced. So it coming to that point is our understanding and our willingness and desire to understand who we are and who the Creator is within us. Make sense? Okay. So when we even one of the big ones, a couple of the big ones, all of this was part of 7. All of this was part of growing to that complete state. When we talked about I am Elohim, that was a big one. That was a big one big hurdle for us to get through, and it wasn't anything to do but accept it. You had to see that through meditation. We had to see that through meditation. The truth about Christianity, the truth about what is in the book versus what is taught that is in the book. All of that is a part of arriving at 7 and being full. We are being filled now with truth. So that as a part of the creation story, you are now. We've always talked about I am a co-creator, but now we see who we are and how we create. So part of understanding of 7 was discovery of yourself, of ourselves, of man, and how the book opens that up to us and how we relate and how we overlay ourselves over the understanding of an Abraham and a Sarah, the understanding of the other patriarchs in the Bible, the understanding of the disciples and Jesus and everything else that we've studied. We see that now, and we can readily put ourselves in those places because we understand it from a spiritual perspective. Make sense? Okay. The biggest thing that I saw that I heard that got my attention was us in harmony, where we are with harmony. If we're at new beginning, what does that mean? What does that mean? We talked about what the Stargate. We talked about being in the 5th dimension. We talked about the lining of the planets. We talked about a lot of things that seemed scientific, but they were spiritual. But what does all that mean? What is the new beginning? Again, I said, the new beginnings have a cost, and the cost is the old you has to die. You are a new creature. But the new beginning does not start empty. The new beginning is all the fuel, all the things that you have gained, all the spirituality, all the understanding, all the awareness that you have gained moving to 7 and seeing yourself through creation. That's what sparks the new beginning. So we are moving from a place of discovery, and we're moving to a place of action. We're moving in a place of doing. If 7 talks about sacredness, if 7 talks about being whole and being complete, if 7 talks about being fruitful and giving birth to something, 8 is that new beginning. So when Pastor said we don't know what harmony looks like, really what he was saying is we haven't created it yet. We are the creators for that. We are the ones who put ourselves out there and said, Lord, we want to know who we are. We want to know truth. Give us our desires. And we've moved to a place now where we have been filled. And I'm not sitting here saying we know everything that's in the book. Of course not. But we've moved to a place that not only does the Creator trust us, but we trust ourselves. We trust ourselves to know that we're on a journey searching for truth, and we are willing to do whatever it takes to get there. So this new beginning, this 8, this doorway, this place that we find ourselves in is a place of action. It's a place of opening doors. It's a place of making things happen. It's a place of creation. So we are no longer in a position of just, as I said, discovering who we are and understanding things. We're at a place of action. You are more spiritual being than you are physical being. So with that said, the question should be, well, what does harmony look like? What do we do? We are guided by the universe. We are willing vessels, and we're guided by the universe. This is what I'm saying. No one goes to medical school to become a surgeon without practicing surgery. Eventually, you got to practice surgery. You got to find yourself in an operating room and be ready for, or you were just a student studying to be a surgeon. You are not a surgeon. So as we have put ourselves in these positions, and if we have, as we have said, Father, here I am, send me. Here I am, Lord. As we have said that, we are in position to see that. So we say, well, I don't know what harmony looks like. Yes, you do, because you know what disharmony looks like. We've set our hearts, so we see a lot more from television. We see wars. We see the Ukrainian thing. We see the thing in Israel. We see conflicts all over. We see police brutality. But even if all those things were gone, there would not be harmony. Harmony starts with the heart of a man, the peace that is in him. So as we move in this place, we are harmony. And it is our desire to bring harmony into this world, into this earth. I don't know how that's going to look, but I do know your love and desire will make it happen. Two people meet, and they fall in love and they get married. And they decide, you know what? I love this man. I love this woman. Let's have a baby. We want to have a baby. They don't live near either one of their families. How do they know how to take care of a baby? They submit themselves to the process. Love opens them up to wisdom. The little voice tells her what to do when the babies can't stop crying. The little voice tells her what to do when the baby is teething. Even if it's picking up the phone and calling the neighbor. Wisdom and understanding. And as you trust, use these things to trust the Creator, you're also trusting yourself and your own instincts. And before you know it, parenting, you trust God to move you to a place until it has become second nature to you. And by the time the second child comes, the third child comes, you're not as frantic with it because you have become what you were seeking in the first place, in the beginning. And that is where we are. Through love for mankind, through our desire to bring harmony to the earth, for our desire to see the African become what he is supposed to be, for our desire to see all the violence and all the imbalanced things that we see in the earth, all the confusion, all the weather patterns, all the things that we have always thought you have no control over. But this few people on this phone will make a difference. Your desire of who you are, your desire and your trust of who you are will make a difference. And I'm not just talking about pastor. I'm not just talking about the teachers or the facilitators. I'm talking about every one of us that hangs in here week in and week out on this phone, absorbing these words, meditating on these words. You are becoming the shell of who you were as a physical person, and you become a spiritual being. And we're now in a position where we take action. We desire to stand in the gap for mankind. We desire to be whole. We desire to be complete. Questions or comments, y'all? Somebody, please. This just kind of made sense to me because I was listening to Pastor the other day, and it just kind of clicked on me. The relationship that 7 and 8 has can help or move you to a new place. If this is a new beginning, what is that new beginning? You are energy. You don't sit still. Remember, 7 rest. It says to cease, to stop, to rest. And it also talks about a movement. How can that be? What it is saying is when you are complete, when you have filled yourself with the creation, when you see who you are, when you understand the spiritual part, the spiritual nature of mankind, then you are a new creature. That is the rest part. There is no more of that you need to create within you. Take it and work with it now. Look at what you've become. And you don't fully become it until you put it into action. You are not a doctor until you practice medicine. Put it into action. And the putting it into action shows you who you are. You're not trying to convince God. It shows you who you are. And the more you see who you are, the more you recognize Elohim. Questions, anybody?
Hello.
Hello?
Hey. Good morning.
Hey, Pastor, how you doing?
I'm good.
I was talking about the relationship between 7 and 8, and I was seeing if I had any questions.
Oh, okay.
What I'm going to give you a quick recap. What I was talking about in the on the video when you were talking about not knowing what harmony looks like. I'm saying 8 is the extension of 7. It is the overflow of 7. It is the fatness of 7. So at that point, you see that you are whole. You see that you are complete. And 7 being creation, coming through creation, if you follow that in Genesis, you understand your spiritual essence, and you move to a place now of action. So 8, the new beginning, is an action. It is not being complacent. It is not waiting on the sideline. 8 also talks about a death, because there is no newness, no beginning, unless something dies. So you have to, as you have come through this cycle of 7, recognize that what I desire brings me more balance, more peace. It is more valuable to me than what I was or who I thought I was. So it is that point, it is through 7 that you are changed from Abram to Abraham. And 8 is the part where you're overflowing. So we're at a point now where we are harmony. If we want to see what harmony looks like, we are harmony. And we walk in that way. And we are guided by the universe. So
Okay.
all those things come together when we talked about the stargaze, and we talked about the lining of the planets. All that stuff is real, and that's where we are now. That's where we are now. So I explained it best I could, I guess. I'm waiting to see if I had any questions or comments, or if anybody might have a thought on it.
Hey, Ron, this is Charles.
Hey, Charles.
I'm seeing myself, I'm not fully grasped it yet, but I'm going to put it out there. The more you keep, seeking, like they say, God, is more you keep seeking, and you think, and you think you got God, you've seen God, but you keep seeing more. But I'm seeing, and I'm understanding, when you see or seen, it make you once you think you got there, you see yourself, and all the time it being you're traveling and learning, it ain't God you see, it's you.
Yeah.
Because he said that we are gods. So the way I see it, the more you keep learning and putting it out there, not only putting it out there, as long as you keep eating of this table, this fruit that we all bring to the table, and you think every day we seeing God. You ain't doing but seeing yourself. And the more and more you see God, you're going to see yourself. And then when you really see yourself, then you become the God that you've been searching for all along. Or you see what you've been searching all along, that you were it.
Charles, that's it in a nutshell. We have been taught that God, excuse me, y'all, excuse me, but we have been taught that God is some external thing that we ought to search for, and hopefully we have moved till we take our focus off of that stuff, that we see what truly is in the writings, in the scrolls, in the scriptures, and understand what they're saying. And this, you look at Genesis, as we discussed, some of the things I named in there, whether you're talking about the heaven and the earth, the moving of the waters, or the plant life, all of that is talking about you. All of that is different aspects of who we are. And it is written as an allegory, so we can see it. It paints a picture for us so we can see it, but it overlays inside of you. So that's the 7 I was talking about. That's where you, once you see that, and once you understand that part of you, and understand that this is talking about you, more so than it's talking about God. It's talking about man. Yes, sir.
No, I'm coughing. Excuse me.
Okay.
I want to add something in a minute.
Go ahead then.
Let me say to Charles, yeah, you're right on it, Charles. Not on target, but you're on it. The idea of seeing becoming 8. When you talk about something has to die, that is what is being spoken of when the scripture talks about dying to self. When you die to self, you're not dying out. You're not dying to the point where you don't have any more responsibilities or desires. Dying to self speaks to the idea of dying to what you thought you were, or dying to who you thought you were. So you are dying to the self that you thought you were, and you're embracing the reality of who you are. And when you embrace the reality of who you are, the idea of 8 also speaks to the journey, but the journey does not begin. You do not get to experience what 8 is unless you embrace it. You just can't say it and not embrace the reality of it. For example, it's one thing to say that you are Elohim, it's another thing to embrace it. We can talk about harmony all day long, but if we don't embrace harmony within ourselves, then we will never experience harmony. Because the experience of harmony for the universe, or for the, of harmony for mankind, has to start with those who are seeking that harmony. So just like we are talking and putting things in the macro for others to pick up, when we embrace harmony, that is also in the macro, and that breeds harmony within other people. There is no doubt in my mind that what we are experiencing with the conflict in the Middle East is predicated on the things that we have already talked about, and the idea of harmony. Before there is harmony, there's upheaval, and we notice the upheaval that's taking place. So what are we experiencing? We are experiencing a response to that upheaval that we have never experienced before. We are seeing a different response to, not a reaction, but a different response to this whole bullying of other people by telling them they're anti-Semitic simply because you say some Jewish person or Israel is wrong. You can't criticize them. So now what people are beginning to see is the reality of it, beginning to see that there was a shield of anti-Semitism that they hid behind and did anything that they wanted to do. And no one would challenge it because they felt uncomfortable or were made to feel uncomfortable, or they would lose their position if they told the truth. And so that's what I'm talking about when you begin to embrace harmony within, then that embracing of it puts it in the macro. And when others embrace it, they are able to see the reality of what's going on around them. And this idea of creation, Ron, that you were speaking of, the creation prior to us, like the sun, the moon, the stars, the trees, etc. All of those things that were created, as you said, are us. Well, if we look at the spiritual meaning of everything that was created for the first 5 days, and if we look at that, then we will see that that is what that speaks to who we are in terms of the personalities and principles that we were created with. When we talk about separating the darkness from the light, when we talk about the creation of the moon and the stars, we are talking about our relationship with the universe, the unicity that we have with the universe. And when it talked about the replenishment of the earth through the creation of trees and the rivers, etc., what it's talking about is the knowledge and that we must pursue in order for us to have the experience of being one with the universe, because knowledge is simply experience. And looking at all of that for those first 5 days prepares us for the 7th day. And that preparation, for the first 5 days prepares us for day 6. And then understanding day 6 prepares us for the embracing of day 7, which is completion. Completing the journey to the extent that you are embracing wholeheartedly who you are without any doubt whatsoever. And that embracing of who you are, as Charles said, we've been searching for God all along, and now we see that what we have been searching for is us. And when that is seen, that is the experience that you were speaking about, Ron, of 8, and how 8 is an action, as you said. It's still a journey to be traveled, but in a more enlightened manner than it has been traveled. And we truly become the intercessor for humanity in a way that we have not experienced it before. And this idea of being an intercessor for humanity in a way that we have not experienced it before is not about us praying for somebody like we were taught. It's not even about us meditating on it. It is about us being who we are and knowing that who we are is the same as who everyone else is. And when we embrace that truly, now every move we make, everything that we teach, every pure thought that we have is being an influence on humanity to the extent that there is a hunger to be who they were created, who humanity was created to be, and that search for themselves or for who they are is so available now in the macro until it is not difficult to embrace the reality that humanity is also the God that they've been looking for. And that is one of the reasons I believe that younger people have no issues with speaking about the universe and and how they trust the universe and how they're one with the universe, those kinds of things. They might not use the vernacular that we use, but to be one with the universe is to be same as the universe is. And being that is simply saying that you are the God that you've been searching for. I hope that makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you. I do too. Any questions, y'all? Does that sound better? Does it make sense now?
This is Vermel.
Hey, go ahead.
Ron, both yours and Sage's explanation complement each other. I think for me, I feel like there's so much coming at me, and sometimes I'm not sure what the question is. Like one of the questions I had that came back to my mind when you both spoke is, so even though for me, there may be moments when I have doubt,
Mm-hmm.
but the thing is to keep moving forward through that, because I'll have doubt until I put it into practice. What we were saying about, you can say you're a surgeon, but until you get in there and actually do a surgery.
Yeah. I got you.
So is that the same with moments when I have doubt or I question myself?
I would love for Pastor to answer this as well, but I want to say this part to you. One of the things I learned myself that helps me is when someone else is speaking, I sometimes would get frustrated if I don't catch everything they say and even understand it. So what I had to do was relax. And when I relax, I still not gonna catch it all, but I got it. I know it's in me. I'm not fighting against it. You got it, Emil. It's in you. And the thing is, the turning the corner is recognize, you know what? I'm on this journey. I have a sincere heart, and no, I might not be able to explain creation. I may not be able to go to Genesis 3 and 12 and tell you what that means, but it's in my heart. I know who I am. And I don't doubt who I am. And I follow this. And if I need to go back and ask questions, I'll go back and ask questions. Because we hear it. And we hear it in our souls. It's just that our minds don't always catch it.
That's probably a good explanation for me. Sometimes I find if I'm going to admit this, if I'm crocheting, I see here better. When I'm sitting here looking and listening, there's parts that seem to fit right in. Like, okay, I understand that. Yes, that's what 7 meant. So this is, but a lot of times I have to go back and listen to the recording 2 or 3 times. And then I try to remind myself, if you have any questions, ask them. But a lot of times what I find I'm doing is I just want to hear the next bit. Does that make any kind of sense at all?
And what I do, don't be afraid to stop the tape. If you hear a nugget, stop and meditate on it. Stop and pull it together. Meditate on it. And sit with for. You might not pick the tape again up for an hour, but meditate on that part that you heard that really clicked something in you. They hit you for a reason. So I think when we do that, we understand how we work, because each and every one of us listen at these tapes differently because our experiences are differently. But deep down, we want the same thing. That's the betterment for man. And that's what harmony is. See, each and every one of us has to find that calmness that stillness inside of us. And that's why we breathe. That's why we meditate. We find that in front of us, inside of us, excuse me. Now, what does harmony look like? If you can picture, let me give you an example. I went to a jazz club one night, and it was in Augusta, Georgia, and I was surprised because I heard about this place, and I went in there, and Branford Marsalis walked in. I don't know if you know who he is. He's a famous jazz artist. He walked in just out of the blue, and he sat there for a while at the bar, and he got up and took out his horn and went up there with the band. And next thing you know, other band people start coming. People just start coming out of the audience, going up there. The stage was so full, there wasn't room for them, and people were pulling up chairs to the stage and playing. And if you didn't know better, you think they've been playing together for years. And that to me is the perfect blend of harmony. Everybody is accepted by what they have to offer. I sincerely want to be a part of this. I sincerely want to be a part of this note, this music. I want to feel this rhythm. I want to get in this river with you. I want to flow with you. And I pick up my note and I run with it. And it all sounds awesome. That's the harmony. So that's the nation. It doesn't matter if you're black or you're white. It doesn't matter if your skin color is this or your culture is this or that. If you feel the harmony, if you feel the rhythm of the universe, we are all one. So I for one, I love understanding, but it's not so critical that I got to understand everything we talk about. It comes to me. It may come to me months later when we're studying something else, and I remember something that was said. That's why we revisit stuff so much. So slowly, the doubt, just breathe on it. Just breathe on it. You're there. You're there.
Thank you.
Become one. Yeah. I mean, just become one with you, with your rhythm. Feel that rhythm inside of you and flow with it.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you. Anyone else? Pastor, do you want to follow up on that, please?
Yeah, yes, sir. We talk a lot about it being in you. When in essence, what we're actually saying is that you have been made aware of who you are, because it's always been there. We make you aware, hopefully, of how you were fearfully and wonderfully made. Now that you know it's in you, or that you're aware of what's in you, the question becomes, what are you going to do with it? I can't answer that for you. You can embrace it and travel with it. You can embrace it and sit with it. You can embrace it. You can fool yourself and pretend you embrace it and be ignoring it at the same time. It's what you are going to do with it. And what determines what you're going to do with it is, has your life changed? Are you different in the way you treat people? Or is your attitude different? Those kinds of things speak to whether or not you are going to embrace and follow through with what you have become aware of. The other thing is this. What is doubt? What does doubt look like? You're going to doubt until you stop doubting. No one can stop you from doubting except you. Doubt is not simply the having a concept that you're not sure about, or a concept that you go back and forth with. Doubt is more than that. When you say that you have embraced the concepts and the policies of the Creator, and you do things consistently contrary to what you say you believe, that's doubt. If you do it sometimes and you don't do it other times, that's doubt. If you get upset because someone points out to you that you're off the path, then you are doubting whether or not you accept what you truly said you believe. If you truly accept what you say you believe, then you don't have a problem with anybody tugging you back to the pathway. All of us are our brother's keeper, and we need that. Doubt is when we well, it's not doubt, it's worse than doubt, I guess. When we say that we have submitted to loving kindness and we're not loving kindness. See, the submission to loving kindness is not you submitting to loving kindness for the people you know, or the people who are close to you, or your biological family. Submitting to loving kindness means that regardless of the circumstances or how someone else treat you, you treat them the way you not only want to be treated, but you treat them the way you know they ought to be treated, as opposed to falling in line with them and going and being taken to a place of darkness that is not a comfortable place. Anything that you say you believe, there is no way you can convince yourself that you believe it if you don't follow it. If you're consistently off target with any one thing that you say you believe, then you are doubting the validity of it. Because if you believe the validity of it, you would do it. And if you catch yourself not doing it, you would walk it back and deal with it. That's what apologies are about. You know that you're out of rhythm, and what puts you back in rhythm is an apology, sincerely so. What puts you back in rhythm is when you are able to check yourself, or someone checks you and you're not upset about it. When we talk about sin, we're not talking about what we have been told through religion what that sin is. When we talk about sin, we are talking about being out of rhythm with the universe. Now, hear me well. Being out of rhythm with the universe. It also means that you are out of rhythm with humanity. We put a lot of emphasis on being in rhythm with the universe, but very little on what that looks like. It is impossible for me to be out of rhythm with the universe and be in rhythm with humanity. That does not happen and will not happen. We are at a very precarious place right now. All of the vacillating about what we're going to believe in and what we're going to embrace, all that's over. That's done. If we recognize that we are at a precarious place, and all the things that we have been, all the games you've been playing, all the times that we take the opportunity to hurt somebody's feelings, all the times that we curse somebody out, or the times that we manipulate people to get what we want, all this stuff is out. And if you don't put yourself in a position, and that position is sitting with it, until you get to the place where it does not matter what anyone says to you or does to you, you are going to remain who you are. If you don't do that, we are at a place where you will die in the wilderness, and you will not experience the promised land of eight. The consciousness that we have been promised, you will not experience that, because the reason you won't is because you have not died to what you thought you were. You are still trying to hang on to the person that you were before you found out who you are. And if you are hanging on to the person that you were and not embracing who you are, then the question becomes, do you really believe who you are? The other thing about that is, if you say who you are, then you realize that you cannot talk out of both sides of your mouth. You can't play that religious game and go through the religious antics and at the same time say that you are truly embracing who you are. When Jesus was challenged on that, you present yourself as God. And Jesus did not say, I didn't say I'm God. Jesus said, is it not written that I say that ye are gods? Are you willing to do that, to stand your ground in terms of making sure that you are not just telling the truth, but you are the truth? When we talk about what you eat is who you are, we're talking about that in a physical way, but it's also a spiritual truth. Whatever you ingest spiritually, that's who you are. If you ingest in religion, that's who you are. If you ingest in the truth of what's in the scriptures, that's who you are. And when you do that, you no longer have to read the scriptures because you are the scriptures. I'm not saying that you don't have to peruse them, when you get an opportunity to. What I'm saying is this: you realize that simply because you read the scripture, it doesn't make you spiritual. The thing that makes you spiritual is understanding them. And as Ron said, you don't have to be able to regurgitate what you understand. Just embrace it. And when it resonates with you and you hold on to that, that's embracing it. And if being Elohim has not resonated with you, then do you really believe that you're Elohim? You are going to be tried. My desire for everyone the Creator has allowed me to cover or interact with, my desire is for you to have circumstances and situations in your life that you will have to make a decision whether you are going to respond to them the way that you were or the way that you are. And I'm talking about very real personal experiences. That decision is yours. And if you respond to it the way you were as opposed to the way you say you are, it's not a defeat. It is simply an opportunity for you to move beyond from who you were and embrace in a greater have a greater desire to embrace who you say you are. Does that make sense? Questions or comments before I don't know whether I'm going to continue or not. I just want to see if there are questions or comments.
It makes very much sense.
Thank you.
Yeah, it does. Mm-hmm.
I see. We have to be in a position where we are willing to redefine redefine words based upon what we thought they meant. Like when we talk about doubt, we're thinking about a mental thing, that simple doubt in your head. But we are not speaking to it as doubt in our actions. And doubt works both ways. I'm done.
Questions or comments, guys?
Well, I have one. Say you just said doubt works both ways, and then you said I'm done. Could you get a little more clarity about what you mean?
Doubt works in both ways, or
Yeah.
I'm done. Which one you want clarity about?
That works in both ways.
Okay. When I say doubt works both ways, I mean that it is a mental thing and it's a thing of action.
Okay, more than that little thought in the head.
Yes, it is.
All right.
See, you can fool yourself and say that I don't doubt. I know who I am. But your actions speak different. So your actions say you are doubting because you're consistently doing things that are antithetical to who you say you are. Does that make sense, Ramir?
Yes, it does. Very much so.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you both.
I want to say this part. I don't know if you guys pay attention to the lessons we have. Sometimes Pastor and I talk about the lessons, and sometimes he'll call me and say, "You having something?" Or I'll say, "Do you have something like that?" But we are guided by this. We don't just go through the scriptures and look for something. My meditation is where we are now. What do we need? What does the world need? That's it. So if something doesn't come to me, I'll let him know, hey, I don't have anything. And usually somebody asks a question. The point I'm trying to make is where we are now in these lessons, this is no coincidence. This isn't one of us hand-picking anything. This is the universe speaking to us. And if this lesson, like I said, I missed yesterday's. I'll listen to yesterday's this week, but I listened to most of Saturday. If this is where we are now, the universe is speaking to us. Embrace who you are. Embrace this. We're at a beautiful place. And as we've already said, be mindful of your thoughts. I don't know how to say this because this was the part that I wasn't sure about. I didn't know what this would look like, and I see it now. Do not think that by changing yourself does not change the world. Look inside of you and find that place of harmony. Find that rhythm, and let that be the thing that you value the most. Let that be the piece and the thing that you value the most, and watch what happens around you. The energy you put out will be different. Trust that. At the beginning of this, I introduced you to a word I call it diet. It is the Hebrew word for knowledge. It means I know what I know. I've experienced this, and I know that we're on the right track. I have no doubt. So I hope this is resonated with everyone. If not, we'll visit it again, of course. But are there any final questions or comments?
Two things.
Okay.
But I would
Yes, sir.
rather someone else speak first if they have a question or comment. No question or comments? Okay. One is when you are, well, I'm sorry, when we get to a place where we truly recognize that changing ourselves changes humanity, that's when we truly believe that we are one with the whole of humanity. We are one with Netanyahu and what he's doing in Israel, as well as we are one with the Palestinians and what they did and what they're going through. We are one with everything. The question is, what do we do with it? If I am one with Netanyahu, am I one with Netanyahu because of what he is doing? Or am I one with Netanyahu because of my knowing he doesn't know who he is? Am I one with the Palestinians because what they are enduring and suffering, we did that as enslaved people. We've gone through that and we still go through. Our being one with everyone has to always be for their benefit, for the benefit of humanity. And for humanity to benefit from the Netanyahu, the Hamas, Hezbollah, all of that. In order for humanity to benefit from that, it is our responsibility to speak concerning who we are. Every opportunity we get, every discussion we have has to be on point spiritually. Cannot be what we think. It has to be what we know, based upon the scriptures and what we are being shown. That's the only way that humanity changes. Yes, the chaos that we were experiencing came from our desires. If the chaos that we were experiencing came from our desires, and it did, then our desires is to bring order to the chaos. And the only way order can come to the chaos is we change the hearts of others by changing our heart. We change their thought patterns. We open the eye as opposed to the eyes. And you say, but you can't do that. Jesus said, I can. When Jesus taught, Jesus opened the eyes of people who he was not even around. The lady who came to him with the issue of blood did not know, she just heard. So her eye was opened to what he could do, to who he is. And this allegory is telling us, you're opening more eyes than you know. Meaning the eye of spirituality is being opened in more people than you realize. And they will come up to you, maybe not physically, but they will come up to you. And they will be seeking something, an understanding. And how do they get that understanding if they don't know you, if they're not around you? When we don't have something specifically laid out, or when we come together and there are questions that guide us and the responses that we give are not based on something that we just now studied for, is based upon the truth of the scriptures that has been shown to us. That's how we are giving people, opening the eye of mankind. It is a spiritual thing. Jesus opened the eye of the people without having to be close to them. I find no fault in this man. Eye open, if only for a brief moment it was open. That's the one thing. The next thing I simply want to do is remind you about Saturday and ask you to read what you have, study, research, whatever you desire from the ancient Kushite kingdom up to today. And we're going to talk about whatever we are guided to talk about. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Last chance. Anyone? Comments, questions about Saturday? Anything?
Now, will
Okay.
Saturday be just by Zoom, Sage?
I have asked the teachers especially to be
Okay.
on Zoom so we can see each other. Those who are on the phones or on Zoom without using their cameras, that's fine.
Okay,
But my desire is for the teachers especially, and as many people who desire, okay?
all right.
All
Now,
right. Well,
we're doing that on Saturday. Will we be doing that on Sunday or no?
We'll figure that out on Saturday.
All right, thank you.
So you're welcome.
thank you. All right. Well, you guys have a great week. Enjoyed it. And again, if you have any questions, write them down, okay?
Thank
Thanks,
you.
y'all.
All right.
Thank you,
Have a
everyone.
good night.
Good night.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.